Hey everyone, Rich Gasaway here. In case you haven't heard, I'm putting together an SA Matters tour in September, unlike any other that I've done previous. September 26th is National Situational Awareness Day. While I'm taking that one step further and celebrating National Situational Awareness Month. I've had dozens of departments contact me already with interest, and I still have a few slots open. If you want to be part of the celebration and movement, go to samatters.com website and click on the Contact Us tab. If you want to train your members virtually, you can do that too with the SA Matters Online Academy. The Academy teaches everything you need to know about situational awareness and high-risk decision-making. The Academy just opened for enrollment in January, and we already have more than 700 students enrolled. Did you know that issues related to situational awareness are consistently identified as contributing factors in near-miss and injury and fatality events? Please don't wait until your agency has had a critical injury or a fatality. Please don't wait. I get to work with the departments who've experienced critical injuries and fatality incidents, and they're some of the most hurting organizations that I've seen. Hurting from the inside out. Please don't wait for that to happen. Seriously, I can help you take your understanding of situational awareness and high-risk decision-making to the next level. Visit samatters.com and click on the green button on the right side of the homepage labeled Online Academy. To our premium enrolled students in the Academy who participated in last month's webinar, we had on Chris Naum, who talked about building construction and situational awareness. The next webinar, scheduled for June 4th, will feature Joe Prenesti talking about how to incorporate simulation into your command training. Premium enrolled students will get notified in the course room about how to log in for these webinars. Okay, enough of the pre-show stuff. Roll that podcast intro. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers, and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
Hi, this is Firefighter Richard Marcus from the New Hartford Volunteer Fire Department, and you're listening to Dr. Richard Gasaway on SA Matters Radio, helping us see the bad things coming in time to avoid the bad outcomes.
Hello, and welcome to episode 160 of the Situational Awareness Matters radio show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness for our teams and individuals who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. The SA Matters mission is simple, to help you see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes. In case you're new to the podcast, I want you to know that I've released a new episode every Tuesday. Never missed a week. For 3 consecutive years, and I do that for you, the listeners of this show. You inspire me to work harder for you. I've been sharing the message of situational awareness on high-risk decision-making in live programs for 12 years now. I'm here for the long run, and for so long as I'm able, I will continue to share this message, a message of hope, a message of inspiration, and a message of encouragement to all first responders who want to make sure you're able to develop and maintain strong situational awareness and make quality, high-risk decisions. I'm dedicated to helping improve your safety and your survival, and to help you accomplish the most important goal of all, to go home to the ones who love you. And speaking of sharing the message, I'm coming to you today from Hartford, Connecticut, where I'm in town to deliver a flawed situational awareness program for the Hartford Fire Department and other fire departments in the region. Thank you, Fire Chief Reggie Freeman, for the invitation and the wonderful hospitality. One of the questions I get asked a lot by readers and listeners are, when are you going to be coming to my area? I want to attend a program. Or where are you going to be next? Great questions, and the answers are really easy to find out. The upcoming event schedule is right on the SA Matters website homepage. Just click on the blue box on the right side of the page labeled Upcoming Events Schedule. I'm very blessed to have some very exciting presentation opportunities on the horizon, including the United States Navy, Fire Rescue International, the NASA John Glenn Research Center, the Amsterdam Fire Brigade, the Dutch Fire Academy, the Antwerp Fire Brigade, the Australia Institute of Fire Engineers, plus I'll be doing programs in Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, and 3 locations in New Zealand. If you're interested in hosting a Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop program in 2017 or 2018 for your department or your association or your region or your state or your company, yes, our trainers do programs for private industry too. Just contact me through the samatters.com website. Click on the Contact Us tab, and we'll get something set up for you. It's not a hard process, I promise. And if you want to save some money on hosting a program, and who doesn't want to save some money, right? Here's a tip for how you can host a program at a reduced cost. I schedule many what I call companion programs. These are programs on adjoining days while I'm in a region. So if I'm delivering a program within a couple hours of your department and you think you might want to tag along as a companion, contact me. You can save as much as 20% off the program cost by being a companion to an existing program. And I do about 30 of these companion programs a year. That's what this program is in Hartford. It's a companion program to 2 weeks of consulting I'm doing for the United States Navy. Stoughton Fire Department in Massachusetts also came along as a companion, as well as the Belmont Fire Department in Massachusetts. That's what I call win-win. Before I dive into today's feature segment, I want to take a moment to mention the Company Officer Development Institute that I created back in 2009. Some of you know my second passion after situational awareness is developing the leadership skills of company officers, something I did a terrible job of when I served as a fire chief. I was guilty of promoting officers before they were prepared to be leaders, and that was my fault. Then I got frustrated at them when they didn't do a good job of leadership of the crews in the station, and that was my fault too. So I partnered with Indianapolis Fire Captain Patrick Harper, and we developed the Company Officer Development Institute. This program can be customized to run anywhere from 2 days to 5 days, and no matter the length, no PowerPoint. Did you hear that? A 5-day program with no PowerPoint? Can you imagine that? Is it even possible? Not only is it possible, but it's a better way to learn essential leadership skills. When adults are engaged in the process of learning and not just being lectured to, learning can be fun, and the important thing is the lessons stick. We share practical, actionable best practices for leadership, problem solving, conflict resolution, teamwork, communications, motivation, accountability, generational leadership, discipline, coaching for performance improvement, and more. So when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of dealing with uncommitted, unprofessional, undedicated members destroying the morale of your department and sucking the life out of you, contact me for a program that will teach you and your officers a better way of committed leadership and committed followership. If you're interested in learning more about the Company Officer Development Institute, just swing over to the SA Matters website and click on the Contact Us tab on the top of the homepage, and we'll send you some details. It really is that easy. Okay, in today's feature segment, I'm going to interview members of the Soldier Township Fire Department and the Regional Emergency Management Agency who were involved in a brush fire incident that was complicated when a tornado developed in the area. Let's jump into our feature segment now, but stick around. When the feature segment is done, I'll tell you about how you can attend an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop event. Who knows, maybe there will be an event near you coming to your state or your county. Hey everyone, welcome to a video version of the SA Matters radio podcast show. And I've got a great show in store for you today as we talk about the 1 in a million type near miss or close call event. But before we get into the details of it, I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves.
I'm Karl McNorton. I'm Fire Chief, Soldier Township Fire Department.
I'm Dusty Nichols. I'm the Shawnee County, Kansas Department of Emergency Management Director. I'm Joe Hawkins. I'm the fire chief of Shawnee County Fire District Number 1, Silver Lake.
All right, good. Thanks, guys, for coming on and joining with me. So let's just talk about what happened that day as far as because you were on one kind of call and then turned into another kind of call, and I don't want to steal the thunder of it, but let's talk about maybe the first call that you went on and what was going on that call first.
I'll kind of let Joe go ahead and get started here because he's the one that made the all call to start with.
Well, I got a phone call at home asking if we had work in a large fire northwest of Silver Lake. I live a few miles southeast of Silver Lake, so totally opposite direction. I informed the caller, no, we had not been. I walked out front, and from my house, I could see it was a very large fire. So I got on the radio, called dispatch, and asked them to page out not just Silver Lake, but Soldier and another neighboring department, Rossville, because I could tell I was going to need quite a bit of help.
Did you know what kind of fire you had?
Yeah, it was a huge grass fire.
Okay.
And from the size of it, like I said, I could tell we're going to use some extra help. Prior to my arrival on scene, I actually got on the radio and asked for more help from 2 neighboring counties. And then once I arrived on scene, I went ahead and notified dispatch and said, let's just go ahead and send anybody that's left in Shawnee County to come on up and help. So like Karl said, it was an all call.
So give me an idea of what kind of resources that brings for you, because different counties of different sizes emptying out their resources could mean different things. So give me an idea of apparatus and personnel. What are you heading in this direction here?
Well, in the beginning, I was asking for brush trucks to fight the grass fire. It was a pretty windy day that day, and knowing the location and stuff, and there's quite a few homes up in that area. And so once we arrived on scene, I originally asked for brush trucks. Then I started asking for engine companies to, stage in driveways and protect the houses.
And should I go as far as to assume there aren't hydrants in that area where the fire was, as would be common in places where there were brush fires?
Oh, actually, we were very fortunate. This was in a mile square area. And at 2 of the intersections, there were hydrants available. So but you're right, that is not the norm. That was not a normal for us.
Yeah. So give me how many people and how much apparatus are you managing at this point in this incident?
Probably at least 15 apparatus or more.
Wow.
Probably more than that. We probably had at least 15 brush trucks up there, and then probably another half dozen engines, mutual aid engines. So I'd say we probably had maybe a dozen engines up there and probably 15 to 20 wildfire apparatus.
Okay. About how many people do you think?
About 45 people.
Wow. Okay. So we're talking a big incident. Now over how big of a geographic area are these people working? Or is this like a half mile square kind of incident you're trying to contain, or how big is this?
The mile stretched, the fire stretched from the north to the south a mile long and probably about a half mile wide. By the time it was all said and done, that's about how much burnt.
Wow. And it's wind driven and probably growing as you guys are arriving and assembling your forces.
Yes, we were fortunate though. We did have some plowed fields. We also had neighbors showing up that had UTVs and ATVs that had water tanks on them. One individual showed up, had a tractor already out in the field that had a disc, and asked me if I wanted him to go out and start discing. Absolutely. Anybody that's offering to help, we took it.
Yeah. Okay. So progress this on through, because eventually we're going to have to talk about a near miss event that occurred. And we're not quite there in the story yet. So take this story and continue it on.
Well, I need to back up just a little bit on the original call. When I called dispatch and asked for the neighboring departments to respond, after I called them, I actually got on the phone, called Chief McNorton from Soldier Township, said, hey, start my way. I know I'm going to need your help. So he got to respond early also. As we're fighting this grass fire, Chief McNorton had been over on the east side of it, and he noticed something to the west, and he come by where I had set up my command and said, hey, I'm going to go check out this weather coming in. So I sent another individual with him so he wasn't by himself. And probably 5-10 minutes later, he confirms there's a tornado on the ground just south and west of where we're at. We could see it from where we were sitting also. So I gave the order to evacuate to fire ground and find a safe place to go and wait this out.
Now, are there, I assume that there are tornado sirens and such in the region. Those had not activated, or it was too early in the notification. Where are we at with that?
I'll let Dusty Nichols explain that.
Yeah, early in the day, we knew there was some severe weather coming our way, so we monitor and we stay weather aware, and we encourage everybody in the county to stay weather aware. We put out messages and sit reps throughout the day to all of our fire, law enforcement, and so forth. When this call actually came in, we were actually monitoring tornado watch and warning just to the west of us, in the counties west of us, so we knew it was moving in. We heard Joe's call go out for that fire, so we started monitoring both those situations, and we called National Weather Service for a spot forecast, which I was talking to Karl because Joe was commanding there, so I was giving them that spot forecast so they could do some fire prediction, and these guys always do our ground truth as well for spotters. As that progressed, we found out that weather was not bringing any rain with it. It was mostly hail and tornado, which wasn't very helpful to these guys. So when that tornado warning, when the weather first started moving in, severe weather, Chief McNorton was on the ground watching the skies while these guys were fighting the fires, and we were coordinating all that information to the National Weather Service, my office, and the guys on the ground. So when that tornado warning actually occurred, it was a radar indicated and spotter indicated about the same time we hit the sirens for our county in that warned area, but there's not a lot of sirens in that area. There's one in Silver Lake where they were, or two in Silver Lake, and then there's a couple in the kind of really sparse area out there. What was really impressive is that the way they commanded those people out there on the ground to get shelter.
Yeah, Joe, what did that sound like? You know, I can't ever imagine being in charge of a fire incident and then having to say, yeah, we all need to leave. How did you communicate that in a way that everybody's even, that they take you serious? And how's that go?
One of my concerns when we're out on large grass fires like this, there are times we have to make access where we may have to cut fences, and some of these mile square pastures are really divided up. And so my biggest concern was getting them out of there early, because sometimes where you cut a fence, it takes a while to go back and find the spot where you cut it. And so I want them to get out early and not try to fight any more fires. So I gave them the command to go ahead and evacuate the fire ground. I had stayed there at the fire ground myself. I had an exit plan already mapped out for myself. And fortunately, we have a lot of good folks that live out in our area that the firefighters actually went and they let them down in their basement to wait it out. But I've been the fire chief for a little over 20 years there. And yeah, that's the first time I've ever had to say evacuate fire ground because of a tornado.
Now, for the benefit of listeners and viewers, tornadoes are not something necessarily unusual for your part of the country, right?
No, we get them, at least the weather that sets them up, we get every year. We get a lot of funnels, and sometimes they don't hit the ground, but either way, we're in a position that it's a high risk for us, so we make sure our warnings and people are prepared as best as possible. Okay. So, Joe, you give the evacuation order, and what does that mean? I mean, are people going to try to get in their vehicles and I know I don't know a lot about tornadoes, but I know we're not supposed to try to outrun them because they can definitely go faster than we can. Were they heading for people's homes so that they could get into basements? Were they trying to find ditches to lay in? What were they doing? I mean, I couldn't imagine what I would do. I was on a highway once where there was a tornado, and I had no idea what to do, and I pulled over and went under a bridge underpass. And I know you're not supposed to do that, but I didn't have very many choices. Don't do
It was that or stay in my car. So we're trying to outrun it. And I didn't think either of those were a great idea.
Well, I was trying to monitor the direction the tornado was going. It was south of us a little ways. And so most of the folks took off and headed north. I found out later that actually a lot of them stopped at houses and they let them in, which was, made me feel pretty good about our community. But Chief McNorton followed it for a while, and then it did take a turn and took off at a high rate of speed. He wasn't able to keep up with it. But I felt comfortable where I was setting. Like I said, I had an exit plan, which way I would have went if it would have taken a track heading north. I'm fortunate it didn't take a track going north yet because I didn't have to test my plan.
And so did it end up tracking anywhere near where your crews were working?
I would say it was probably within a mile south of us. So, and as everybody knows about tornadoes, I mean, it did take long. Once it did take a track north and east, it covered a lot of ground pretty fast. So a mile south of us, if it would have turned any sooner, it could have come right through and pretty quick.
Yeah. And then did it end up coming into contact with any populated areas before it dispersed, or did you guys end up with having other calls related to the tornado?
Well, the interesting thing about that, it actually went just south of a little town called Rossville, and that's about where I picked it up. Kind of give you a little feedback here on this. I was doing a sector officer watching a fire line over on the east side. At the same time, because of what Dusty had given me information of ahead of time about the oncoming storm, I was sitting in a position where I had a clear view of the skyline and everything back to the south or west and southwest of us. And when I spotted the tornado, my first thought was that it was somebody else was burning. And then it just kind of kept getting bigger, and I'm like, no, we've got a tornado on the ground. Confirmed it with emergency management at that time. Then I got on the radio and warned everybody, including Joe, that hey, we got a tornado. I'm going to go try to spot it and get ground truth on this. Went by and picked up another firefighter, and we both headed literally southwest and drove right straight at it, and which is a little odd. We were trying to get around and get to the south of it so I could actually chase it and keep better ground truth on the event itself. But it was coming so fast that by the time I got to the point where I thought I could get south of it, it had already met me at that location. So we went south in some very high winds to get away from it, turned around and tried to follow it back. And it was moving about 60 miles an hour. And when something's tracking diagonally 60 miles an hour, you can't follow it by road in any way, shape, or form. The tornado did end up in my community to the east of Joe's and overturned a semi up on the highway, and then went ahead and carried on in as a weaker storm on up into another town called Hoyt. And they had a little bit of damage up there, but very little, and then it kind of dissipated at that point.
Karl, when you were going toward it and it was coming toward you and you had that near miss event, how close were you to it?
I would say I was probably within 1/8 of a mile. Really close.
I want to throw in the caveat here just a second that normally when these guys do ground truth for us on emergency management, we tell them where the storm's at because we have the radar and we're watching, so we can tell them to go north, south, east, west. This almost literally happened on top of him. So this wasn't a reckless, he's driving into it. And it sounds like that as we're talking.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that way at all. It was.
It's important for you to clarify that because it did sound that way, and I don't want the viewers to.
Right. This was a very deliberate
thing.
Yeah.
Deliberate ground truth.
Yeah, and some of the reports were that we had a rain-wrapped tornado, but it was very obvious to me that we had a dirt-wrapped tornado because it was coming across pretty much plowed ground and stuff, so it was picking up a lot of black earth and making it really nasty looking. Mm-hmm. And then there was a couple of updrafts that went across some of this plowed ground too that made it look like we had separate funnels, like maybe up to 2 or 3. Fortunately, we are in a position that I could see that those weren't anything but updrafts, and I could keep an eye on the tornado itself, and then hopefully get it spotted to keep people safe.
In fact, that's why it was so important to have the ground truth, because at one time we had a report of 3 different tornadoes, and he was able to kill that information immediately and give us the actual ground truth and help National Weather Service as well.
So, Dusty, in the EOC, where you were with the access to technology, are you able to see the rotation in the in the cloud activity and stuff like a weather person does?
We normally have people assigned to weather. We have an operations section, an operations officer who monitors that. They work with the National Weather Service, GR Level 3. We have those software suites that we use. We rely heavily on ground truth, our CERT members. And we also use what we here locally, we call the virtual EOC. It's a software package where guys on the ground can shoot video, and it goes right into us in real time. Longest delay we've seen is about 4 seconds. So we have the virtual EOC, and it's information sharing back and forth. So we have really good situational awareness, and we really strive to have a solid common operating picture at all levels across the board. And that particular software does really good for us. And to tell you the truth, we get some really good video off Facebook.
Yeah. Now the Karl sent me some video. Who shot? Was that civilian shot video or?
No, I believe that was actually shot by the news service that was on scene.
They were already there covering the brush fire.
Right.
Well, how convenient is that?
Well, was it Sean's video?
No, it had been somebody else's.
Oh, okay. There's another local weather station or local TV station. One of the weather guys is a trained spotter and works with us as well. So I thought there's a video of that one, and I think we just tagged you on the Facebook one earlier,
yep.
Just a little bit earlier. It has some good video on it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Joe, at what point do you get the all clear and you're back to resuming operations on the brush fire? About how much time passed between duck and cover and resume operations?
I don't think it was that long, maybe 5-6 minutes. The thing is, we thought we had the east fire line out, which was, still quite a ways from all the homes, but yet it was the fire line we were mostly concerned about. We thought we had it out, but when the winds ahead of the tornado come along, it kind of blew that fire line back up. Then it did start raining a little bit. I'm sitting in my vehicle going, we need more rain than that to help us. Fortunately, we got a little bit more rain that knocked it down to where it was manageable for me to bring 3 trucks. I only had 3 trucks returned to the fire ground to finish extinguishing the fire lines. So it wasn't that long, but it seemed like it was.
And was Dusty on the continuation of the monitoring of weather after that tornado went through? Did it then kind of calm down and get to the point where you weren't too concerned about there being another tornado, or was there still a heightened sense of awareness and alert for a potential another tornado?
Sure. That particular storm, the tornado was spawned at their location. We were still watching 2 other parts of that system to the south of them in a town called Auburn, and then another one just to the north of the large city of Topeka. So we were also monitoring those 2 storms. Obviously, when they actually have an actual, we draw all our resources, not all of them, but a lot of our resources toward them. So there was multiple areas, and we had sounded the sirens, I think, for almost 45 minutes straight on those storms, and that's based off National Weather Service storm prediction. And if they say it's a tornado warning, then we sound those sirens. What was unique about this one is that it stayed, most of the tornado stuff that actually was on the ground stayed in their, unfortunately, in their area that they were working at that fire. But we had sounded all county sirens at one point because they had said that it was all, the weather wasn't stable. And then we drilled it back down to just those warned areas. So I think we sounded for 45 minutes straight, but they were very specified warned areas. But until the whole systems move out of our county, we drop out of a watch, we stay alert that whole time. And that's kind of our standard.
Yeah. Now, if this would have happened, what time of the day was this?
What kind of day?
What time of day?
Oh, it was First 4:30. Yeah. The heat of this thing was about 5:30, 5:18, I think, is when we hit the sirens. So.
Okay. So is what I'm trying to circle around to is, would circumstances been different for the support that you were able to give this, Dusty, if it were, say, after normal business hours or on a weekend?
Nope. As soon as the National Weather Service puts us in any kind of watch, whether it's a tornado or a thunderstorm watch, my staff comes up and we go a warm EOC. We have a weather officer assigned, and if that weather starts moving in traditional weather patterns, we're pretty used to them. If it hits the county just to the west of us, we spin up. If the weather, if it does spawn tornadoes to the west of us, we all come online. So it's just situational awareness for us. It's how it's just our operational capabilities that are there, because we have to. And during that particular day, we just finished a week's worth or 2 weeks worth of high fire, red flag days, all that stuff. So we were monitoring where all these things were going anyway. So that I'm going to say it probably, as far as the weather goes, it wouldn't have mattered what time of day. We would have had somebody locked on to assist.
Okay. Yeah, just to add to that, as part of their network, with their virtual EOC that we have, it's been really important and valuable to some of us out here, out in the outreaches of the county, that we're in communication with them. Literally, we can be 24/7, and I can either do that either via the laptop or via my phone or my iPad, and I'm on the virtual EOC, and I can make this thing mobile and then get out there on the ground and see what's going on, and like you said, do video if I need to. It's been probably one of the best things that I've seen us do over the last several years for improving our emergency operations communications overall. And that way we keep everybody informed across the county, as well as what's happening right here in our neck of the woods.
So you're going to have to talk us through a little bit about what virtual EOC means, because that's not a term that everyone's going to be familiar with. So you've spent a couple of years getting yourself prepped to have that that resource. Let's tell the listeners what that is, so they might say, gee, we need that.
Sure. Just to give a background, before I even start talking, I am not paid by any software company or anything like that. This is just the path that we took to get to where we're at. We've done exercises just like everybody else, and we're working on the ESFs and 15 ESFs coming into the EOC should a large disaster. We went through all that stuff. We come to the conclusion after doing a 1966 tornado, which was a large tornado that went through Topeka in 66, a lot of damage, deaths, everything else. We used that as a basis for an exercise, and we realized that if that were to happen, we're not going to get 15 people to our EOC because they're going to get flat tires or they're going to have damage problems, or multiple reasons why people are not going to come to our EOC. Mm-hmm. That said, I still needed those ESFs, emergency support functions, to provide that authority for their departments. So if incident commanders or area commanders need resources, we can still make it happen. The other side of that is situational awareness. How do we get everybody to have a common operating picture real time? Extremely difficult to do, just in general. If you're on a telephone or anything else, you can't do it. Conference calls have been kind of the routine, or on a radio, which you can't share video. You can't do everything on that kind of, it's just convoluted. So we looked at different software packages that the states was using, and then we came across one. It was called Adobe Connect, and it's actually used for online classes. If you've ever taken an online class, so you could see the other students, or you could chat, you can have a speech, you can pre-record stuff, files, all that kind of stuff, file sharing, everything on that one software package. So we got with our health department, who had received a grant, and we worked it out to where we purchased this software package, and then we started playing with it and realized that this is going to do everything we want it to plus. So we can, depending on the licenses and how many positions or bandwidth that'll support, we found out so far we can have about 100 people on this thing at one time. We can run about 15 videos simultaneously on the screen, so you can see different aspects of this of a disaster. So we first used it during a flood in Rossville, and so we have law enforcement officers driving around with their cameras with their computers on. We have people walking around with their cell phones because we can see the camera there, iPads, all that stuff feeds back into the screen, and we can chat with who's ever on. So we send them a link to this thing. They have to have the app. They download it, and we're all talking. So we can literally have a virtual EOC. We limit who can be on there. The really cool thing about it is I can also set up a room, and we've done this a couple times. I call it a room. It's just a screen, but a room beside it on my computer where I have a joint information system. So I have all my media people there, and should we decide to do a video for a media release, I can take it from one, copy it to my computer, and upload it on the other. So the IC can literally talk to the media without having to be without a camera on their face. We're getting real-time public safety information out. So we've just kind of tapped on it. We've been working with the past 3 years. We've had it used for exercises. We've used it real world a few times. And as the beauty of it from an emergency manager's perspective is that it's all recorded. So at any point in time, should a bad or a poor decision presumably be made, we can go back and stop the video at that time, stop that software, and if there's a review or analysis of that decision, and say, this is all the information I had at that point. That's why that decision was made. So that's a nice little CYA feature, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Protect us. So that's what we use.
No, thanks for sharing that. Let's jump to lessons learned and talk about what you learned from this event, which could be things that you did really well as lessons learned, or things that you realized if circumstances were just slightly different, we might have had something undesirable happen. Any lessons that you would want the listeners who've never experienced this type of event, what would you want them to have as their takeaway lessons?
Well, I think as we've touched on, just have good communications between the other agencies that are there assisting you, like emergency management and your neighboring departments. One of the lessons, I think, one of the reasons why I think we had such a good outcome is because I recognize that this is a wind-driven fire. It's going to take a lot of resources to put it out. I think calling everybody sooner than later paid off big time for us. One of the things I took away from this that as a negative was Chief McNorton left to go spot for the tornado. Once he confirmed it on radio on the channel we were working on, he switched channels, and I was therefore not allowed to contact him anymore. Tried to reach him by cell phone, and he chose not to answer my call. So that made my blood pressure go up a little bit more from the not knowing whether that tornado got him or not. I think he owes me breakfast.
Now, Karl, what was the purpose of changing the channel? Were you going off to a dispatch channel, or what happened there?
Well, at that point, I was basically in direct communications with Dusty at Emergency Management as well as National Weather Service at that time. So not only keep me aware of what was going on, but keep them aware of what I'm seeing right there in front of us, and we can keep a good track of what the tornado was. I was relatively confident that Joe and the guys were doing their due diligence to get to cover and everything. And I knew that we basically had our hands full. I was driving and trying to make sure that we were staying out of the way of the tornado at the same time.
But you say I got a tornado, and then Joe's trying to reach you, and he can't reach you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can imagine what's going through your mind, Joe.
I thought it got him. I started watching the skies for a red Ford truck flying through the air, but I never did see it.
Oh, other lessons. Thanks, Joe. Other lessons learned?
I think these guys are on the same track. We're on a different channel. I always keep mine on scan so I can hear everything that's going on, but I'm talking to who I need to talk to. Possibly switching over to event. All of us putting on that would have been kind of unique to do, though, having two events on one channel, because that's really what it turned out to be. But I think we're going to work through that as we talk about this and break it down a little bit further. But overall, I don't think we could have done it any different, any better. Joe was spot on by calling people out early and communicating his need early. We were already spun up because of the weather, and who would ever guess the Fire-NATO thing? We just worked it.
And one of the things, we talk about communications, and that's one of the biggest things you have when you got multiple agencies coming into an area to make sure that all that communication is taking place on the radio, basically at the same place. And we've got an 800 megahertz system here. We're still experiencing those challenges of everybody wanting to stay in their own silo and trying to get them to break out of that, because that becomes a part of the situational awareness too, that they are paying attention to what's going on with the rest of the world. And so we're working through those challenges, and it's like Dusty mentioned, trying to get to an event channel or trying to get everybody to an operations channel while we're working these major incidents like that. And it's getting better, and it's just going to take some time.
How long have you all been on 800 megahertz?
Well, 15 years.
Quite a while.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not new.
No.
But we just changed up, upgraded our whole system here. And so we made some significant improvements to it, but everybody still wants to operate in the old days.
Yep.
And it's a challenge.
Yep. Okay. Well, guys, thanks for coming on and sharing your experience with me. And I'm gonna end the recording, but I'm gonna ask you to kind of hang around for a minute just so we can have a little post podcast chat, if you would. So thanks for being on the show with me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
If you've experienced a witness and near miss and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, like our guest just did here, please contact me by visiting the samatters.com website and clicking on the Contact Us tab on the top of the homepage. Think about it for a moment. The lessons learned from your near-miss event could save the life of other first responders. That's pretty powerful. If you want to share your lessons, contact me. Okay, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the departments and the organizations that have hosted some great training for their members on situational awareness. I do this to show my appreciation to the organizations who put forth the effort to organize, advertise, and fund great training experiences for their members. Your efforts to bring this valuable and powerful training on situational awareness and high-risk decision-making to your department and others in your region is greatly appreciated. Recent Situational Awareness Matters tour stops included the FDNY Incident Management Team, the Orangeburg, New York Fire Department, the Mamaroneck Fire Department in New York, the Ontario Fire Chiefs Association Conference, the Ontario Fire Training Officers Association Conference, and where I am now in Hartford, Connecticut. Then I will jump right into the middle of a 9-day teaching and consulting program for the United States Navy at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in Kittery, Maine. And while I'm there, I'll do companion programs for Stoughton Fire Department and Belmont Fire Department in Massachusetts. Then on May 31, I'll be in Colorado Springs, June 10th, Beaver Lake, Arkansas, June 12 to 16, Woodlands, Texas, doing a Company Officer Development Institute program. And then I'm going to take some time off to spend with my family. If you want to know the locations of all the upcoming Situational Awareness Matters tour stops, head over to the SA Matters website and click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Upcoming Events Schedule. The schedule is always changing, so check back often. While delivering programs in Southwest Minnesota, I had the opportunity to stop by and visit my amazing sponsor for this podcast, Midwest Fire. Midwest Fire makes all poly-bodied fire apparatus, and it's changing the industry. You seriously need to check them out at MidwestFire.com. I got a chance to sit down and talk to a few of their employees about what separates Midwest Fire from their competitors. Here I got the chance to ask account executive Dalton Lingbeck about the all-poly design of Midwest Fire trucks. Let's listen in. Okay, Dalton, I see in the advertisements that one of the things that differentiates Midwest Fire from their competitors is this all-poly design. So what does that mean, all poly? Yeah, describe that for me.
Yeah, well, poly is actually pretty common in the industry. Poly tanks are seen inside bodies all over. Manufacturers do them all the time. They've started around the 80s, I believe. But all poly means that our tank and body is all poly integrated. It's one big superstructure. You're not sliding a tank inside of a body. You're not sliding a tank anywhere. It's actually one big built body that we do, and it's made of 3/4 inch copolymer. It's extremely durable, and it's industrial grade, and it's the kind of poly you can beat the crap out of.
Okay, well, I'm a little bit of a skeptic there, because you say that poly is durable, and I own a lot of things that are plastic. In fact, I was just at home last week, and we had this appliance that had plastic parts on it, and I accidentally dropped it on the floor, and it didn't shatter, but it just cracked so easy, and I only dropped it, a couple of feet. So I'm a skeptic. When you say poly is durable, I think of poly or plastic as something that isn't durable, that's going to crack easy or dent easy. So you got to convince me on this one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, trusted shoes definitely come up with poly. But let me grab down here something really quick. As you can probably see on the screen right now, this is a piece of poly that we use. It is the same type of material, the same thickness. It's 3/4 inch. And what you might notice on here is it has bullet holes. So basically, if you trust a bulletproof vest to take bullet holes, when they first tested it, they wanted to shoot holes through it and see if it worked. And you couldn't shoot holes through it. So what do? We did the same exact thing. We wanted to shoot holes in the theory that poly wasn't durable and poly wasn't reliable. And we tried to shoot holes through it, but you can see right here, the bullets actually could not go through. And there's actually a bullet stuck in the bottom of this one because it wouldn't get all the way through. Now, truth be told, there was one weapon that did go through this piece of poly, and it was a 30-06 high caliber rifle. It did go through, but that's a 30-06 high caliber rifle.
So it was a 45 caliber on the other side?
Yep.
And so what I'm looking at is essentially there's marks on the poly where the bullets hit, but as you show me the backside, it didn't go all the way through.
No, yeah, and the backside doesn't even have any dents on the backside.
Huh.
Actually, when we were doing this test video, one of the bullets, I think it was on the 380, actually bounced off back towards the person that shot the piece of poly. So no, the bullets did not go through. They actually either stuck in there or they bounced off.
Okay.
That's how strong this stuff actually is.
All right, so there you have it, right from the horse's mouth, shooting holes, literally, in the concept that poly is not a durable product on which to build a fire truck. So if you're interested in learning more, check them out at MidwestFire.com. Thank you to Midwest Fire President Sarah Atchison and all your staff for your awesome commitment to improving first responder safety. I sincerely appreciate your support of my mission. If you're not a member of the SA Matters community of learners yet, consider joining. There are more than 5,000 members connected here on SA Matters, sharing ideas on how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to train members to be critical thinkers and resilient problem solvers. Membership is free, and when you sign up, you get a special report that I've created for new members called 25 Best Practices for Improving First Responder Safety. Joining also gets you my monthly email newsletter that contains featured content from the blog and the podcast. It really is the best way for us to stay in touch with each other. If you're not a member yet, head over to the SA Matters website and click on the red box on the right side of the homepage. It says free membership. If you want to get connected with me on Twitter, you can follow @RichGasaway on Twitter. On LinkedIn, you can search for Rich Gasaway. On YouTube, you can watch my videos on the SA Matters TV YouTube channel. And on Facebook, you can like the SA Matters page. Well, that's it. Episode 161 is complete. Thank you to my guests, Karl McNorton, Dusty Nichols, and Joe Hawkins, who talked about their near-miss event when they had a tornado interrupt a brush fire call. Thank you to our awesome podcast sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to all of our live event hosts, and thank you to our more than 700 online Academy students. And thank you, our listeners, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.